Access Live with Kevin Rankin.
We were in the van. We were in the van for 3 years. And I lived in 3 years. Then we finally got signed to Emperor Records, and we got the bus. The bus was happening. So yeah. Actually, the bus wasn't until later because we stayed in the van even during the first album. Yeah, with the Ramones. The Ramones were, and the Police would drive by. The band, the Police would drive by. We just show a tour together up in upstate New York from Detroit and in Canada, and they'd go by. Then they were pulled over by cops, and then we'd go by, and then it was like a race to get to Toronto or Buffalo, and yeah. So yeah, we're on the road with the Police. Yeah. Yeah, like we're waving, and they're getting arrested. Yeah, well, yeah, that's why it's called MICK skill, to emphasize the name. Because with Romantics, I'm in that group of guys, and we all four of us sang lead vocals in the early days. Rich, all four of us were lead singers, and it's just the producer zeroed in on the two guys just to make it easy for everyone to creating a sound. When you're creating a sound, if you have four different vocalists, it kind of makes it a little more difficult. So they zeroed in on Wally and Jimmy, and we were always Rich was a great lead singer, and I sang lead on songs, and all in the early stuff. Yeah, to an extent, lyrics. I would do titles and phrases, but my thing was guitar, complete song ideas, or guitar ideas, or hooks on the guitar, because I have that certain kind of sound on the way I play. It adds a lot of melody and a lot of percussion melody, and a la Pete Townsend-ish. I don't want to name names, but along that kind of line, where you're using your instrument to the fullest melodic sense. Not just for solos. We'd strayed away. Solos was just kind of a break, more of a break than really jamming for the next 5 minutes. It was really just like a George Harrison thing, where you do a song that fits the melody of the song. That's It's a mixture of percussion on the guitar. I think from when I first started, I learned drums, but a percussion melody and what is it? Not overdoing it. Economy with notes. Economy with notes. Few notes. Yeah, like rock you up. We're in the studio doing Rock You Up, and we're going to put a harp. I go, why don't we put a harp thing on there to the intro? And I'm thinking of Brian Jones and the Rolling Stones, because they would use a harp, and they would put it on a chorus. Like now we call it a chorus pedal. Back then they had to do some other tricks to get it to sound like that. They'd record it 3 times, and then they jog one, so it didn't sound. It wasn't going at the same time. It was off. So you get that kind of chorus pedal like a Leslie. And so I said, why don't we put a little bit of chorus on it? So it gives it a hookier feel, more than a blues jam. Well, it was, well, you go back to the Fab Four. They were using the harmonica as a melodic thing, and that's what we were doing. We were trying to do the same thing, not just jamming, but use it as another element of another hook. Because when I write, I still do it, not like with Romantics, but you're writing for people to remember the title, the melody, and so that they walk out of your show, they're singing your song, and they're on their way to the record store because of that. It's about selling your song, selling without getting cheesy or anything. I mean, you want it to fit the song, you want to. Not really. We were just flying by the seat of our pants, and I was learning too. When I was talking to you about it, I was learning too, getting into a program where I was trying to not drink, after shows all the time, gets carried away. The next day you're on the road for a year with the Romantics in heat. And, you're after the show or a few days off, you end up a little party going on. And after a while, it just gets boring. You can't make it, it's not like it was when you first started, when you first drink and have fun and it's all fun and blah, blah. After a while, it's just all, it gets boring. It gets boring after a while, especially on the road, and everybody's raring to go, So then yeah, I've been 20 almost 20 years now sober, and not none of that, none of any of that, and I wouldn't have this record, I don't think, if I wasn't clear in that state of mind. So anyone out there, it's something uh, that really puts you in the right place. It really put me in the right place. I should say it that way. It helped me put me in the right place to concentrate on the music, uh, pull it together, get get more than 10 songs, get a whole group of songs together and present them to producers that want to do something with it. Yeah, it's not like I did it and uh, off the cuff, and they hear it and it's like, oh, this is crap. It was actually something. I mean, the records, I heard some of it today again. I've been doing interviews all week on not video, but off and on. But just hearing it in a lot of different situations, it was so powerful. It sounds really good. The record sounds really good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was just thinking ahead of something else, but yeah, um, totally. I mean, it's good because it keeps your vocals in, it keeps your chops up, and I've got good songs we jam on, and uh, good songs that some of the songs on the record. Um, and we're looking down the future around Portland, maybe jumping on some stages and stuff and all that, and yeah, and. hmm Yeah, Ricky's coming up from Ricky Rap from he played with the Dead Boys, and he had his own group, the Trash Brats in Detroit. They were like a punky version of the New York Dolls. Crazy, wild on stage they were, and they're no longer. But yeah, and that's that. And well, we're going. That's a whole different territory for me to go on and do it with just me and Ricky. It's just me and Ricky. So we're just going to go there and like just have fun. We're just gonna like we might not we'll start a song and maybe not finish the song, but we're just gonna we'll probably do 15 songs, about 70 minutes. You'll hear a little bit of romantics, and you'll hear a lot of the new stuff. Yep, yep. What I Like About You, the new version. I'll do 67 Riot, I think. Carrie Got Married, Not My Business. Not My Business was really just I had the music down. I didn't have a title. It came together strangely, like a lot of things do. You start writing a verse, and then all of a sudden you have two verses, and then you don't know where you're going next. Um, it's kind of just fly by the seat of your pants, but keep the antenna open for stuff coming in. Um, it's got that kind of 70s kind of rock and roll thing going on with it. It's got good backups. I brought Ricky in on the solo because I didn't want to do the solo and it all sounded like me. I wanted someone else to add their color to it, the flavor. I did it at in Chicago. I did laid the track down there with Mike Hagler at King Size Lab or King Size Studios in Chicago, and Brad played drums on it. And then on about three or four of the songs, and then his wife, Brad's wife, Chloe, she sang and wrote "Carrie Got Married," and she sang on "So Alone." And she's on a few things. She plays sax. She did sax on some song on "So Alone." Um, it's really just a line part, and she sang with me on it. It's just for color. It's kind of like "So Alone" is kind of like my. It's not really aiming at it, but it reminds me of Velvet Underground doing a new version of a soul song or something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah, something like that. With, without being a mess. Without being a mess. He's well. I'm not saying Keith Moon's a mess, but there's other people that try to be like Keith Moon, and it's a mess. Yeah, it's really yeah. I won't name names, but yeah, that's a weird thing. I needed a song with a minor key, and it just happened. Oh God! After I look back, I don't know how I finished half these songs, but my mind was just in it, and you have to be so in it, but then above it, so you're not. It slows you down when you're thinking too much. That's the whole thing about writing. You can't be so where you're you're sabotaging yourself because you're so tight, so close to it. You just kind of let it fly. And a lot of times, I was telling somebody today, a lot of times when I pick up, I'll come to the studio here, or I'm at home and I'll just pick up the guitar and I'll tune it, and then I'll hit a couple chords, and those chords become songs because it's just I'm not thinking at the time, and I'm just going, and I go, whoa, what was that? So I'll repeat it and then I'll save it and I'll put it on my phone. I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. On this phone here, there's probably 100 or 150 uh, starts and stops of songs and lyrics and titles. So, well, I don't want to lose them. I don't want to lose them. Before, you'd have to get out the cassette tape, pull the cassette, and then the cassette works or it doesn't work, and then you lose the cassette or breaks or whatever. It's so easy now. So anyway, I'll use stream of consciousness where, like with 67 Riot, or with not 67 Riot. You just named it. Dark Side of Your Love. That was stream of consciousness where I just kept writing and kept going, and it really is kind of like elusive. There's not really a subject matter in order. It's just all about that whole one thing. And the song came out. It reminds me of a black and white movie, like from the 30s or 40s. There was this called I'm going to forget the title of the movie now. I can't think of the title now. It was a 1930s movie, and it was very gothic. So the song now seems like a really gothic thing to me. It's kind of amazing because I didn't intend it to do that. It's got some Farfisa organ on it and that, and my son played organ on it, on some of it. Yeah, not on that one, on a different one. I'm mistaken. But my son played on something else. But yeah, so you never know. I never know how they're going to turn out. You're kind of like, I'm just working it. I'm just really working it all the time, working toward the lyric, and making sure it fits the groove. My lyrics are usually pretty percussive, so they've got a rhythm to them. They're not all swooping in that, but they're, like soul, like Motown. They've got a rhythm to them. The lyrics, the beat of the lyrics. Yeah. Well, if you listen, you listen to Smokey Robinson. Smokey Robinson is really swoopy and high, swoopy and high. But if you go to the Temptations and you hear the lead singer, David Ruffin, Jimmy Ruffin, it's all wait, sing, because he's switching the words in, so he gets a rhythm going. You can use the whole time signature and swoop it, or if you wait, you're bouncing it. So that's a lot of soul songs do that, So I kind of tend to get the bounce to it, the percussiveness to it, to the melody. I like that a lot. And then of course, as always, I try to do melodic, depending on what it is. It's like what I like about you. Someone told us that Nugent was talking. I'm not sure how this went. Nugent was talking about McCartney, and McCartney said he's mentioned about Detroit artists, and he mentioned Romantics. What I like about you is like a Beatles song. Well, not to me. It's not. It doesn't feel like it was a Beatles song. It feels like it's a song from the early '60s. That's 3 chords, which could have been The Shadows of Night. It could have been Van Morrison and Them, or it could have been. You know what I mean? I'm hearing all these other things but yeah, I understand what he's getting at because the harp in it, and the strummingness of it, George Harrison and whatever. Yeah. Well, I come from that era, so that's what I learned off of. That's what I learned off of. The first thing I learned probably was Steve Cropper. The song is called Green Onions. And it's really a simple, yeah. And that's one of the first songs I mimicked on guitar. Someone showed me how to do this or that. Really simple guitar. Yeah, but and it was all, the songs were all open chords, a lot of open chords, Stones, Rolling Stones, Painted Black, all that stuff. And Iron Butterfly was out at the time, so there's the Licks. Let's see, that was a little later. I was going to say Incense and Peppermints, that song from the Strawberry Alarm Clock. The Blues Magoos were big. I love the Blues Magoos. They used to play Detroit all the time. They were like almost a Detroit band. I think they're out of Chicago or LA. But yeah, so my whole thing is that mid-'60s pop, psychedelia, birds, Kinks a lot, animals. Yeah, I've said this before. It's not, and then it just went from there. I had the title. I had the title first, and then I had the title on one side and on the music on the other side. The guitar part I was going to for the Romantics, and it never happened. And then I started writing. I think I showed it to Wally or something, but it never happened. So I took it and I started writing lyrics to it, verses and melodies, and I finished the song. You know, I just.
Hello, everybody. Mike Skill and friends here from Portland. We just woke up from a long sleep for a year.
Yeah, I felt bad. I get an idea in my head and I run with it, and it sometimes comes on strong. A lot of times it comes on strong, even when I'm writing with people and stuff. It comes on strong because my mind's just clicking. Um, yeah, they had it all set up with fences and all this stuff, and they tried to make it look like a big theater or a big show. And I go, no, man, tear it down. We want it to look like CBGB. It's just a raw stage and a raw, just a raw club, like a raw place. And it turned out really good. He did a great job. A lot of time it's like I said, it's imagery. I'm trying to create an image with the lyrics. So I'm trying to come up with not that they're I don't clean them up or anything. It's just imagery. I don't know. You know, before I was in music, the band took off. And that I was art school and art major and off to art school, and I didn't get that far. I was on the stage. I was out playing, you know, and the band took off. And so I think that kind of imagery. I use imagery a lot in the art side of it, and so I pull that in, and it goes right to the. I just try to keep it on the beat, you know, rhythm and melody wise. It's you know, there's a lot of jamming in vocals now. You hear it all the time. The new young kid singers are doing a lot of the same trills and the same fills, and it's unfortunate because when we came, I mean, just growing up with Jagger, James Brown, Mick Jagger, James Brown, Elvis, Roy Orbison, Buddy Holly. I mean, the stuff we were still hearing as young kids. I mean, there was a variety. It was a variety. And then Carole King writing songs for all the girl groups. And then, yeah, I mean, just think about if you were a writer at the time in the 60s, you had to write against those people. I mean, Elvis, Rolling Stones, Roy Orbison, Beatles, Kinks. I mean, and they were all different. Now you turn on, and a lot of the girl singers are singing the same licks, the same trills. Definitely a great artist. He was always good at journalism. In elementary school, he was doing the paper for the school, and then he went on to junior high, doing the paper and newspaper in junior high, and editing. And then I got to high school, and he actually in junior high, I think he was actually running the paper for the school, and then and into high school. So and then he went to school George Fox in Newburgh, Oregon, a great school on that journalism thing, and he switched into art. He went into art art, you know, the full art thing, and he in the meantime he's a photographer, so he's a great photographer now, and he's got quite a slew of cameras, like I have guitars. Yeah, he's doing like we do when we're playing and music. We're thinking of our heroes from the 60s, the raw, or 70s or 80s, whatever it is, and he's going back to guys, you know, the original photographers, you know, that kind of thing. He's got tons of books, all these guys, and anyway, he's a great photographer. He bought one of those huge cameras. He put the cover over, and I was with him. He works for the Willamette Week. He's doing graphics and photography there, and he also works for the Portland Parks. He does photography for he does their page, and he does yeah. And then he's just got a job. He's working doing the promo for the winery out in wine country. Yeah, she's dance, comes from dance at Portland Community College. I think she taught dance there. And then adagio kind of stuff they're throwing them up in the air and all that stuff. And then just long story short, won the Denny Terrio Dance Fever thing, went to LA, won a stereo, went to LA, and then started working with films and choreography and One from the Heart and with different movies and with what's her name from what's her name that was in Greece? Yeah, what's the movie that she had the other movie Xanadu. She was on Xanadu with her and doing all that for dance choreography and yeah, script girl, all that kind of stuff. What goes with the movie? Then she ends up with the Tubes in the '80s, doing the dance stuff on Tubes with Todd Rundgren's wife, Michelle Gray, and so they were the team out of Portland here, you know, and all those people. There's a whole crew that I don't know about the whole background of that, but I met her. Yeah, I met her. Yeah, you know, and I met her on the road when we were out with the Tubes on the In Heat tour. The first show. The first show was at Red Wings Stadium in Michigan. It's the Detroit Red Wings minor league club team, I think, or that's where they play when they're off season. And so the show was there with Romantics, Tubes, and someone else. I can't remember who opened. We were on tour with them for about 3-4 months. They had I can't remember which record. She's a Beauty was the big one. The Beauty. And so we were on with them. Yeah, and I met her at that time on that first show. And then we went on the road with them for about 3-4 months. And then we continued on the road at the end of the year in June, January, February. And then they stopped, I think, and we jumped on other tours. We were out with the Cheap Trick. I think we were out with Cheap Trick. We were out with the Kinks, Adam Ant later on. Whatever, we reconnected that ended that next year around Christmas time, I think. And I came into Portland from Detroit or from the road, and that's how it started. So yeah, that was 1980. That's about 1987, something like that, right around the 85, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I moved. I got a house here in Portland in 1997. Before Mick was born, just before Mick was born. But I was coming here. I was already going on the road and coming here all through the 90s and late 80s. No, well, it's got a West Coast thing, so that's a West Coast vibe. But the working class is the same. It's a different economy, but it's logging and the fisheries and that, and that's just as hard workers as the guys in the car companies in auto factories. It's no different. You're working. When I was growing up, they were making cars 24 hours a day. So everybody's going to work every from 6 a.m. till 2 or 3 a.m. afternoon, and then you'd start your night shift, and then there'd be the morning shift, 11 o'clock at night. They start going, and there's all the clubs and lounges around the auto factories, and you have these bands playing, cover bands playing at those places, and so a working class town. It's important. It's a working class town. We had Detroit and Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's the center of Michigan State, University of Michigan, and then Lansing is Michigan State. So there's a lot of crossover, and so you have a youth culture in the 60s and 70s, and Portland has that same thing here. So it's not too much different, except the colleges are right in town, pretty much. I just did a thing where Wilson Pickett. They wanted a Detroit song. I recorded a Midnight Hour by Wilson Pickett. They wanted an album full of Detroit writers. And I picked In Midnight Hour, and I didn't like a band that came out in 1966, The Wanted were a band, and they did like a frat kind of psychedelic version. We did let's see, I had the backtracks for Not My Business in Chicago. My Bad Pretty was in Carver over at the school. 67 Riot was at the school. We Got Your Rock and Roll. It was at Chuck's studio in Detroit. So Alone was in Chicago at Kingside Sound. And What I Like About You was the drum tracks were Chicago, and then I did the guitar and vocal track here with Mick. Mick produced it, and We Got Your Rock and Roll was at Chuck's. Oh, I said that, and there was some more. There's some more. That Sinner Song was that's a school, Carver. Yep, and I don't have a list. One More Time was in Chicago with Mike Hegler. Calling was with Chuck. We were in Australia. We were going to play the cruise. I don't know if you were on that cruise. It was a cruise, but not that one. Yeah. So yeah, I know how you feel. You go and you fly out, and then you get to the boat. You get on the ship, and you float the ship for a while. Then you do the show. So instead of staying on the ship, we went to Australia. CHERYL and I, Rich and his wife, and we said we're going to take time off in Australia. It's so close by. So we went to Australia, Sydney, Australia. We hung out there for a couple of days. Then we went to Melbourne. No, then we went to an island, and then we got on the boat, did the show, and we went back and went to Melbourne. But in the meantime, when I got to Melbourne, I had these chords, and they ended up calling. It ended up calling. I wrote the melody in the hotel room there, and then I taped it, and I brought it home, and I finished it off, and then I was writing lyrics as I went. So and same with We Got Your Rock and Roll. The lyrics I started writing. We were downtown Sydney, I think, Sydney, Australia, and I'm writing because at college we were downtown, and there's an H&M store, the store H&M. Well, the H&M store in Australia isn't at a building that looks like it was built in it's like an old Roman building. Like it looks like it's really old, and it's the whole store. It looks like it would be a public library, but it's H&M. You go in there. So I'm standing across the street, and all these kids are getting out of college, and they're all walking around the street, just kids. And I'm writing the lyrics. Long-haired rockers sobbing like Baskerville hounds. That's right. They're kids walking down the street. I'm thinking of LA too. I'm going, what did I do? I'm thinking of Detroit. We Got Your Rock and Roll is about Detroit falling apart and becoming a cavity of its own in the 70s. There's all this new glitter rock coming out. There's T-Rex, Bowie, Mazza Hoople. And then in LA, all the rock bands are hanging out with the Hollywood stars, movie stars. So it's glitter rock. You got this glitter rock thing going. And in Detroit, there's nothing. So yeah, you're living the rock and roll, right? So that's what I'm writing about. I'm right. We don't have anything else, but we've got your rock and roll. That's what I was going. And yeah, so I'm writing. What's the first verse? There's a street. I wanted to name the street because recently, the street, Cass Avenue in Detroit's been gentrified. It's a gentrified area. It's in between downtown Detroit and the art museum, and so they're calling it North Downtown North and Midtown. They're calling it Midtown. So it used to be Cass Corridor, one of the evilest, tough, drug-addled, horror streets. Yeah. It was raw, pretty raw, and now there's a Third Man Records and all, it's like kind of like coffee shops and everything. Anyway, so we used to go down there, but we go to the jazz club. We went to jazz club or Trapper's Alley was a bar, or a couple of bars. Anyway, because it was really cool, a hippie area, and at one point. And anyway, so the lyric goes, Cass Quarter, the clock's ticking down on the wall. Cass Quarter sirens scream from dusk till dawn. And then that's the first thing. That's like setting up the Detroit, empty Detroit, nothing going on. What's the turnaround? The turnaround goes, okay, there used to be a club downtown Detroit, the Rainbow Room, And I just made up this thing where it was a club that I think John Sinclair had something to do with it, and bands would play there, but it was a dance disco-y kind of thing down there. Discos were happening at that time. And so the next line is, let's go downstairs and find a happy man, red and purple flashes, tripping electric cosmic jam, which is like, you want to go down a party and you're in the lights are flashing and everything. And that's what we got away from. We got away from the decaying city to go in there. So then the next verse is about, silk and satin panties stroll the Starwood Lounge. So that's the club there in LA. The girls are dressed skimpy and it's Hollywood stars and everything. The next line is sexed up producers play a dirty game. Damn that casting couch, let it all go up in flames. So so it's about they're all partying and going nuts, and we're in Detroit. All we got's our rock and roll. That's all it was. Yeah. Well, the song, I don't mind. The chords, I came up with the music, and I love that it reminds me of. I didn't do this intentionally. It reminds me of Social Distortion. I love Social Distortion, badass band, and Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, great band, and the Black Keys, of course. But I had the chords, and it's about. I was describing it the other day. My friend, a guitar player, we played in a garage band. We had those skids on the floor, and we had our equipment up on the floor. So when it rained, the rain wouldn't come in the garage. And we used to play that. And this guy, his mom, she was divorced. He lived with his grandmother, Italian, real sweet lady, sweet lady. Always used to make us breakfast. And his mom's was divorced. I think it was her boyfriend's friend or her friend who was a biker. And we used to hang around across the street at this lady's house. Her name was Violet. And she let all the teenagers hang there. But it wasn't bad. We weren't bad. We were just hanging, playing chess, cards. They would smoke outside, cigarettes, and no drinking, no drugs, nothing like that. Our girls come over and hang out, and we all hung out. And it was, I don't know if the neighbors didn't really like it, but we just all hang out. We had guitars sometimes. And this is back a long time ago, back in 68. 67. I was a young kid, and this guy used to come over. We'd hang there, and no one else was around. It was just us, my friend Gerald, I think, my friend Chris, and maybe one other guy. We're just watching TV. I think we're watching cartoons or something. I forget what we're doing. We're in the living room, watching the house, basically. And my friend Chris, my hair is going crazy here. So we'd hang out. And we're just saying, also we hear the motorcycle. We heard it. Oh no, we knew who it was. We heard the bike come by. It was a big chopper, not chopper, but it was a big, loud motorcycle. Comes riding around, comes and pulls up, parks. And he knew my friend Ricky, who was a guitar player. And so he used to harass. This guy come in the door, and he'd say, they were all sitting there, and he comes over, and then he like hits you, and you go flying across, in the arm, and you go flying across the room. He's 6'7" or 6'5" feet tall, leathers on and all that. And he's just harassing the young hippie rockers. That's what he was doing. And anyway, so he was a pretty tough dude. And after that, it was like, hey, what's going on? You waved to him head. He didn't want to recognize you, acknowledge you. He's the biker guy. I think he was with the Highwaymen or the Outlaws. Really tough biker group, and like the Angels. But anyway, so I got the song came up, and Sinner's song came up, and that's who I was thinking of. I was thinking of that guy who was a funny guy and a tough mofo, and he'd mess around with us, but I knew underneath that he probably has gotten fights you couldn't believe, and he probably who knows, maybe murdered someone. I don't know, but deep inside, this guy had a heart, because he's comes over and screwed with us, and he wants to hang with the guys. He's basically hanging with young cats, guy. But I just wrote that sinner song. He's a sinner, but he's got to have a big heart. He's got a big heart. Somewhere inside that guy's got to have some empathy and a heart. I mean, otherwise he would have killed us. He would have, he would actually, yeah. So that's where that. I don't know. That's just that was a starting point. That was a jump off point for the lyric. When GC was Batman and Superman, and that was really just surface gratuitous violence, so to speak. And my hair looks awful. And and Stan Lee came along, and it was about giving the little guy, the kid that was maybe not as big, or not, or had another problem, had another injury, or another. It was the little guy, about the little guy coming up. He gave a social consciousness to it, with black characters, and in black neighborhoods, and even the Beatles. I think Beatles were in something that he did, but it was a social consciousness in 1964 when he came out with it. I think it was 64. So that was a whole different thing. Marvel was a whole different thing. It wasn't so much, he stayed away from the gratuitous. It still had the violence, but it wasn't like, there was a story there. There was a story, a great story. And that's the thing right now. I think there's a lot of the violence is taking over it instead of the message. I like Captain Marvel. Marvel was really cool because he was a spirit, almost like it was a deep spiritual thing. It was almost like a Buddha thing inside of him, but it was like a futuristic thing, you know? Yeah. He was like a soul of the universe. Yeah, that's why you have so many rock guitar players. I think are like that. They're introverted or something. They go to that instead of. I didn't go to a prom. I didn't have a date for the prom. I didn't go to the prom. I didn't want to go to the prom. It wasn't something I wanted to do at the time in the mid '60s. And you go in and you're playing your guitar. You're playing guitar. You're writing songs, learning how to do that. All the other stuff came later. And if you notice, Romantics. A thing that we never did. We always, our thing was never having beer bottles or alcohol on the stage. We never had. If you ever see any live show, we never had alcohol on the stage. It was something we did want to do. It was after the show. It was after the show. Never before. It was only after the show. This is just something we did. I mean, the whole time. Now I can't speak for anybody else nowadays. I don't know, but. Look, so yeah, we do in Michigan and around there, and then around Portland here in Oregon, and hopefully get up to Seattle and down below, San Francisco and that. Yeah, we're working on it. It's been a relearning of how to get back our giddy up and go here with the shows and everything, with doing live shows and all that. Me as well. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And we're still waiting to get a vinyl LP out, and some CDs out. We're just backed up. So watch for that, and I'll talk to you then.